Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. We are from Group 3, want to present a story about Fortune and the Woodcutter. Here are our members, Estri Mustaqimah, Ferizka Erviana, Adelia Putri N.A, Muammar Kadafie, and Alfiah Nur Jusar. And for the first presenter will be delivered by Estri Mustaqimah. Time is yours.
Okay, I will present about the theme of the story. The theme is unexpected luck. The moral value is you can never give up in life or anything. There must be a time for us to get our chance, believe to God, and believe to yourself. And then the setting of the story. First, setting of time. This is taken with text several hundreds of years ago. There lived in a forest a woodcutter and his wife and children. And then the setting of place. There is 2 bedroom and homeyard. The bedroom taken with text. The distracted wife begged and implored in vain. Her husband persisted in staying in bed, and at last, in despair, she left him and went back to her work. And then, if homeyard, this is taken by text, they fell at once to the ground and outpoured a rain of gold pieces, till the little courtyard shone like the sun. And then the social condition, hopeless, surprised, and happy. The hopeless, the taken by the text in the end, the woodcutter lost heart and said to himself. And then if surprised, the taken by text, a treasure. Until PPT. And then the surprises, taken by text, a treasure, gasped the woman as soon as she could speak from surprise. And then happy. This is taken by text. In an instant, the woodcutter was on his feet and running to the court, where he paused dazzled by the glitter of the coins which lay round him. I think enough from me. And then the next presentation will be presenting by Ferizka Erviana.
The next materials is characters. There are several characters in this story. The first is Woodcutter. He is a father, husband, and woodcutter in the story. He was a hard worker at first, but because he did not get rich, he was desperate. He decided not to go to work and remain in his bed. This character believes that luck will come if we don't chase it too much. And then supporting text in the story. The first, he was very poor, having only his eggs to depend upon, and 2 mules to carry the wood he cut to the neighboring town, but he worked hard and was always out of bed by 5 o'clock, summer and winter. In this part of the text shows that he is a hard worker. And then, in the end, the woodcutter lost heart and said to himself, "What is the good of working like this if I never am a penny the richer at the end? I shall go to the forest no more, and perhaps if I take to my bed and do not run after fortune, one day she may come to me." This part shows he is easily discouraged and released on fortune. And the third, "You see, my dear wife, that I was right," he said at last. "Fortune is so capricious. You can never count on her. Run after her, and she is sure to fly from you. Stay still, and she is sure to come. This part shows that character believes in fortune. There is not sought after. Next. And then the second character is the woodcutter's wife. She's a patient character because she does not scold her husband, who stopped working even though she knows that they have nothing to eat. His wife is also a character who believes in the results of hard work and according to her fortune will not appear if not so. But in the end, she believed that her husband's actions were right because of his fortune. And then the supporting text in the story are first, my dear husband, grief has driven you mad. Do you think fortune will come to anybody who does not go after her? Dress yourself and saddle the mules and begin your work. Do you know that there is not a morsel of bread in the house? This section shows that the wife is a character who believes in the results of hard work. And then the distracted wife began and implored in vain. Her husband persists in staying in bed, and at last, in despair, she left him and went back to her work. And this part shows that the wife is also a patient character. She's not angry even she continues her work. And then the last one is Nekbur. Is a dishonest character because even though he knows that the treasure belongs to the Sultan, but he does not try to return it and quite the opposite. He's also an irresponsible character. For fear of being caught by the soldiers, he fled to the forest and let the donkey go home alone. The supporting text in the story are, he filled the sacks with the money, though he knew perfectly well that it belonged to the Sultan. In this section shows Nekburs are dishonest characters. And then now the man was aware that if he was killed, he would be condemned to death. So he fled back into the forest. The mules left to themselves took the path that led to their master's stable. And this section shows the neighbors are irresponsible characters. The next materials will be presented by Adele.
Okay, I will present about point of view. In this story, Fortune and Woodcutter use third-person point of view because the author tells the story using the name of profession, the woodcutter, not I or me. And the next material would be delivered by Muammar Kadafie. Time is yours.
Okay, thank you. And I will continue explain about plot. The first one is exposition. Several hundreds of years ago, there is a poor family who lived in the forest. They are Woodcutter and his wife and children. He was very poor, having only his axe to depend upon, and two mules to carry the wood he cut to the neighboring town, but he worked hard and was always out bed by 5 o'clock, summer and winter. And the second one, inciting incident. Going on for 20 years, his sons were new grown up and went with their father to the forest. Everything seemed to go against them, and they remained as poor as ever. In the end, the woodcutter lost heart and said to himself, he said, What is the good of working like this if I never am a penny the richer at the end? I shall go to the forest no more, and perhaps if I take to my bed and don't run after fortune, one day she may come to me. Okay, next slide. Okay, the third one is rising action or progressive complication. After deciding that he wouldn't come to the forest, the next morning he didn't get up. His wife got him up and asked him to go to the forest, but he rejected and still on his bed. They did long debate. He believed that a fortune could find him without hard work. He lost his spirit and cried because of he failed to become rich. The fourth one, dilemma. His wife said to her husband that grief has driven him mad and tell him fortune will never come to anybody who doesn't work hard. After hearing that, she taught him to begin his work, but he still rejected her request, although she began and implored in vain. He was stubborn. Next slide. Okay, the fifth one is climax. A man from the nearest village knocked at their door and gave them a job to do if her husband would land. A man his mules after that. The man went up because he is upstairs and asked his request too. But the man still had no permission to get him up. Therefore, the man asked its request from the outside. He was allowed to take his mules to the man. He will welcome and land his mules with a price. The man left the house and led the mules from the stable and drove them to a field where he had found a hidden treasure. After a long time, the woodcutter's wife was looking out of the window when the mules drove up before the door. She lost no time in calling her husband, who was still lying in bed. Okay. As she shouted to her husband and said that our mules have returned with sacks on their backs, but he still didn't want to get out of the bed. As she found she couldn't get help from her husband, the woman took a large knife and the cord which bound the sacks on the animals' backs. She saw a lot of treasures and fell at once to the ground and appeared a rain of gold pieces, till the little courtyard shone like the sun. After that, she ran off to tell her husband. She cried and told him that he was quite right not to go to the forest and to await fortune in the bed. She said and shouted that a treasure has come at last. She also told him that no one in the whole world country can be as rich as they are. After hearing that, finally he got up and was on his feet, running to the court where he paused dazzled by the glitter of the coins which lay around him. Next. Okay, the last is the denouement or resolution. He was surprised and told his wife that he was right. Fortune is so capricious, you can never count on her, said him. Run after her, they believe that fortune can come surely out of the people in the world. Okay, the next material will be delivered by Alfiah Nur Jusar. Thank you.
Okay, I will continue the material. Conflict. The conflict is a woodcutter is desperate and doesn't want to get out of bed to seek luck. And in the end, the luck comes by itself. The story told us the fortune will come to the people who have toiled, no matter it failed at all. Next, type of conflict. Man versus nature. This is an external struggle between character and some natural constraints or condition of nature. And then man versus self. This is an internal struggle within the character in which aspect of this personality may struggle for dominance. This aspect may be emotional, intellectual, or moral.
Okay, maybe that's all from our presentation. We are really sorry for the mistake. Thanks for the attention. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.